Theirs is a history of conflict and a struggle to preserve their way of life. They are the Tausugs, a Muslim tribe found in the Sulu archipelago. With the onset of modernization and the devastation wrought by years of war, the Tausugs are witnessing a rapid decline of their centuries-old culture and tradition, a way of life begging to be saved before it is too late. Today, Hanina is preparing gifts for her nephew Jalani's engagement celebration. She and her relatives are preparing to accompany him to the house of Johanna, the woman he wants to marry. Under Tausug Islamic tradition, the man's family shall ask the woman's family for their daughter's hand in marriage. This is called the Pagturul Taima. Jalani's family and relatives all gather at his family's home to prepare food and gifts to be brought over to Johanna's house. It is a festive community event, as many guests are invited to witness the preparation. When the gifts and food are loaded into the trucks, everyone proceeds to Johanna's house. There, the parents of both Johanna and Jalani shall discuss the wedding date and the dowry that shall be given to the woman's family. The Tausug courtship ceremony is one of the many centuries-old traditions of this Muslim tribe whose existence is now more than ever gravely threatened. When the Spanish came to the Philippines bearing the sword and the cross, seeking wealth and the glory of God, they were met with little resistance, making their way with ease through Luzon and Visayas. But Mindanao proved unyielding. The Tausugs were one of the few Muslim tribes who put up the fiercest resistance against Spanish colonization. It was through these successful struggles that the Tausugs and other Muslim communities were able to preserve their religious and cultural identities. But lessons from history are not easily forgotten. Today, anybody who tries to exert control or impose change in Muslim Mindanao is viewed with intense suspicion by Muslims. And even the national government is not spared. The result? Unnecessary bloodshed between government forces and the Muslims of Mindanao. Ironically, it is the Muslim struggle against the government that has also caused the erosion of the way of life of the Tausugs, one that is constantly lived in dire poverty. The Tausugs of today are centered around the Sulu archipelago, mainly around the islands of Jolo, Pata, Marungas, Tapul, Lugos, Siasi, and Panguturan. Figures at the National Statistics Board show that the poverty incidence in the area is at 60%, almost double the rate of the national average at 34%.
Bilang Tausug, gusto niya maging to engage, to devote more on farming. Kasi dati sila sa hinterland. Bumaba sila dito dahil sa peace and order problem. So yung mga dating ginagawa ng mga Tausug, kasi farming talaga pinaka-major source of livelihood nila rito.
Hanina Sahirani's family was forced to flee the hinterland because of clashes between the military and the MNLF. Because of the fighting, many Gimbahanons or land-based Tausug farmers lost their only source of livelihood and were forced to move to the cities to take on menial jobs. The conflict has also affected the Parianon or the fishermen Tausugs. Because of the clashes between the army and the MNLF forces, the Tausugs found it difficult to find routes to transport their catch. And even though a peace pact with the government was signed last year by Nur Miswari, changes have come too slowly. The many years of fighting have taken their toll on the Tausugs and almost all other Muslim tribes in Mindanao. But it is not the war alone that is decimating the Tausugs' way of life. It is also the creeping influence of modern living enjoyed by their more affluent neighbors and witnessed and imbibed by the young Tausugs.
Nagiging impluwensya talaga ang modernization natin. So dahil malapit daw sila sa urban area, so ganun ang nangyari. Nawawala yung mga traditions na ganun.
Pag dahil sa modernization kasi nawawala ng unti-unti ang ang cultural values ng mga Tausugs.
Against the onslaught of development and the constant threat of armed conflict, one bastion of culture they continue to lean on is Islam. Jainal Ula is a Tausug imam or an Islamic religious scholar based in Holo. He knows all too well that Islam is their last hope for ever preserving their way of life.
So nawawala na, totally nawawala na yung mga values, traditional values noon, yung magagandang, yung positive values ng mga Tausug. Yung naiwan na lang dito, yung religious practice.
In an effort to revive their dying traditions, Jainal, Hanina, and other Tausug elders are sounding a call to Tausug youths to return to the Quran, the Islamic holy book. A practice they now encourage is the reading of the Quran by young Tausugs. Their efforts have so far borne some fruit. The Tausug youth are increasingly devoting their time to Quran reading. And along with this religious devotion, the Tausug elders are also making sure to preserve cultural traditions that celebrate the milestones of one's life, like Johaina and Jelani's engagement. Johaina's relatives come in full force as they greet Jelani's relatives warmly. The food is placed on tables, and relatives from both sides exchange greetings. Johaina's relatives lead Jelani into the house and the waiting area, where he shall await the decision of the parents of Johaina. Johaina is in the other room, awaiting her parents' decision as well. Jelani's father Omar discreetly begins to discuss the proposals with Johaina's father Yusuf outside the house. With them is a mediator, Imam Shafi, who is a Tausug community leader. A few minutes later, a decision is made, and both parents make their way towards the house. By the time the parents make their way into the receiving room, Johaina is ushered into the room by her mother and takes her place beside Jelani. Omar and Yusuf finally agree upon a 50,000 peso dowry and set the wedding date for November. Johaina and Jelani are now engaged to be married. The practice of the Tausug pattern of courtship and marriage and Quran reading are just two of the many ways to preserve a culture under constant attack. Both Imam Jainal and Hanina Sahirani know that it is in the teaching of these customs that the youth learn to cherish their heritage. In the end, it is the practice of this heritage by the young who will inherit it that will spell the survival of the Tausug way of life.
Maprepreserve kung mananatiling itong constant at continuous ang pagbibigay ng advice sa mga younger generation.
Panahan ang constant na pagturo sa mga younger generation. Yun ang nagiging solusyon na ma-preserve yung mga cultural values noon, traditional values, positive traditional values.